Welcome to Airplay Escape. You can now support me by joining my Patreon account and also gaining access to the full audiobooks. The link is on the description below. Thank you so much for your support. Luffy Awakens, Sun God rises to Pirate King, Episode 31. After hearing about Rabu, Usopp sighed. 50 years is so long, that group of guys made it wait long enough. Sanji was not surprised, and sighed softly, this is a great route, and it's not like we'll see you when we meet again. Usopp understood what Sanji meant and couldn't help it. Sanji breathed out the smoke, guessing, they must be dead, and they will never come back, no matter how much they wait. Nami recalled the history and said solemnly, I remember 50 years ago, the great shipping route was more chaotic than it is now, and the terrifying sea area was untouched. Usopp felt hopeless if he couldn't do this, and said condensedly, don't say these things that make people feel hopeless, this is not certain, maybe he will come back and see you again. Although Usopp said so, but Nami, Zoro, and Sanji felt that thinking like that was just self-deception. After all, it's been 50 years, and it's too early to come back. Moreover, 50 years is too long. Even if they were their age when they went to sea, they are now almost 70 years old. At such an age, is it still on the Great Route? Looking at the silent Sanji and the others, Usopp looked at Luffy and asked. Luffy, what do you think? Luffy grinned and said, I think we'll see you again. This made Usopp's eyes light up. Zoro and the others were surprised. Did Luffy think so too? Subsequently, the Mary came out of Labu's stomach. After coming out, Luffy and Rab started fighting. The battle stopped in the middle of the battle, and the outcome was undecided. Luffy agreed, we haven't decided the winner yet, so we have to keep fighting. I will always be your opponent. We must fight again, to decide the winner. After we circle the Great Route, we will meet. Come to you, then, let's decide the winner. Rabu wept, raised his head and roared, in response to Luffy, agreed. Just as Luffy and the others were about to leave, the two climbed ashore. Luffy recognized it, it was Vivi and Mr. 9, Weiwei's current identity, Mr. 3. I ask you one thing. Weiwei and Mr. 9 knelt down and talked. Luffy said, Whiskey Peak? Yes, we really want to go back to town, the reason we can't say, the company's purpose is to be mysterious, sorry. Weiwei said sincerely, I like your character, so I ask for your help. We will definitely repay this kindness. Nami said, however, our record pointer is broken. This made Mr. 9's eyes light up, and he quickly took it out. This is ours, for your use. Nami took the record pointer, and Vivi and Mr. 9 looked forward to it. Can we ask for your help? Nami shook her head, I have to think about it, it's too suspicious after all. At this time, Luffy decided, okay, let's get on the boat. You said to go to Whiskey Mountain, then go there. It's natural to get to know Weiwei, so let's go with the flow. Usopp felt a little sloppy, and confirmed the question, Luffy, are you really going to bring these two unknown guys on board? Luffy wants to defeat Crocodile as soon as possible, but some process still has to go. It is impossible to say it directly, I will help you solve Crocodile, it is too abrupt. Luffy didn't care, it doesn't matter, don't care about this little thing. Usopp and the others are helpless, is it a trivial matter to be unknown? However, Luffy decided, and they naturally listened. Okay, let's go to Whiskey Peak. The target was identified, and the Mary set sail. Navy headquarters. Sengoku knew what happened to Straw Hat Luffy and others in Rog Town, knew that Smog was defeated, and also knew that he was easily defeated. However, in order to understand more, Sengoku asked Smog to come in person. Carp has always been laid back, but he's been here a lot during this time, mainly to learn more. The Marshal's office, Sengoku, Garp, and Smoke also entered. Marshal of the Warring States. Smog's tone was respectful. Sit down, Smoker, and talk slowly. Sengoku's face was heavy, and he was clear about Smog's strength. Although I learned about the strength of the pirate hunter Zoro through Hawkeye, and also knew that Straw Hat Luffy is very strong, but Hawkeye did not fight with Straw Hat Luffy. And Smoker fought, so Smoker should know better. Smoker started talking about the battle, but it was short because it ended so quickly. Sengoku was surprised, Smog was crushed. Sengoku and Garp were shocked when they heard that Luffy said less than 30%. After the surprise, they are all heavy, but for different reasons. When a monster rookie pirate such as Sengoku Heavy appeared, Garp was worried about the high combat power sent by the Navy. Warring States exclaimed, it's so strong, it seems that what Hawkeye said is not false, the bounty of 400 million is too small, maybe there really is. Thinking of this, the Warring States became more and more shocked. Hawkeye said, maybe Straw Hat Luffy, a bounty of 1 billion is no problem. After thinking about it, the Warring States decided, perhaps, it's time to raise the bounty for the Straw Hat boy. This made Garp, who was sitting, twitch his brows and asked, Warring States, how much do you plan to increase the bounty? After thinking about it in the Warring States period, the office suddenly became quiet. Smaller also felt that 400 million to 500 million may be too low. Less than 30% is so strong, but I clearly felt that the original battle, the Straw Hat, was also serious. Or, there are other forms? Thinking of Luffy's second gear, his third gear has changed. Maybe, there are other forms? Thinking of this, Smoker thinks it is very possible. At the same time, looking at the Warring States period, Smog was also curious how much the Warring States Marshal would raise the Straw Hat bounty. Smaller felt that the following figures were reasonable. After all, the Warring States Marshal was also a wise general. After a short pondering, the Warring States decided, and said sternly, "Raise the bounty of the Straw Hat Boy to 1 billion Baileys." Episode 32. When the words of the Warring States fell, Smog and Garp were shocked. A billion Bailey? Only 17 years old, a newcomer who has just gone to sea, with a bounty of 1 billion Baileys, which is unprecedented. Smog had thought that the Warring States period might raise the bounty to around 7 or 8 billion, but 1 billion was something he didn't expect. But thinking about what Luffy said, 30% is less than strength, so with all his strength, there may really be a billion. Moreover, he is too young and has a lot of potential, so he can understand it after being surprised for a short time. Smog also felt that he was worthy of being the Marshal of the Warring States period and was very decisive. After Garp was surprised, his heart became more and more heavy. Luffy offered a reward of 1 billion Bailey, which is not a good thing, it means more dangerous. Warring States condensed, we must pay more attention. Although the Straw Hats have entered the Great Route, they must also take action. After a brief hesitation, the Warring States decided. Smaller is looking forward to what kind of decision and what kind of combat power to send. And, inwardly, Small was a little worried. This made him very uneasy. As a navy, how could he worry about a pirate? Although Luffy feels very good to himself, just like he feels very good to Roger, but he can't have such thoughts. Smoker heard that Garp and Roger are both enemies and friends. Will he be friends and enemies with the Straw Hat in the future? No, I am a righteous navy, and the opponent is a pirate. Smog stopped thinking about it, waiting for Sengoku's decision. Garp prayed in his heart, don't send generals to deal with them. Send yourself to go, at least you can put water. But the words of General Pai. Garp also knew that Sengoku would not let himself go. Warring States decided, and said in a condensed voice, send many lieutenant generals, and many elite seamen. The battleship was not very useful in the past. Even if it can be won, there will be a lot of sacrifices. So, send a general directly. Bar. This shocked Smog, and sure enough, he still had to send a general to take down the Straw Hats. So, which of the 3 generals will it be? Garp frowned and said nothing, his heart was naturally bad. No matter which general, it is dangerous for the Straw Hat pirates. Warring States has already decided, and said, I will contact Shinji to find the Straw Hat pirates, and then take down the Straw Hat gang. Smaller's heart froze, General Akiji. In his heart, Smoker felt sorry for Luffy and his gang. As a newcomer, he is too sharp and will be targeted by the general. Although Luffy is very strong, it is impossible to compete with the generals. Even if the Straw Hat pirates are together, it will be difficult. The only 2 of the Straw Hat pirates that I know now are the strongest, Straw Hat Luffy, and the pirate hunter, Roronoa Zoro. So, sending a general is enough, even Smaller feels it is a bit too much. However, in order to stifle such a newcomer, it is also understandable. Smog sighed inwardly, Straw Hats, ask for your own blessings. After Sengoku made the decision, he glanced at Garp, who said nothing, and saw that Garp's face was not good. Garp, are you alright? I can't help it. As a navy's position, I hope you can also understand. The meaning of the Warring States period is obvious, and Garp is also clear about his position. Garp shook his head, I'm fine, I decided, then I'll go on vacation first. Sengoku is not allowed vacation, in case Garp runs over to help. Cap, wait a while, about your vacation. Sengoku said in a condensed voice. Garp said sternly, Warring States, you also know me, what you are worried about will not happen, I know my position. Even if Garp was suffering and complicated inside, he would not want to help. I know, but wait. Garp was helpless and said nothing. After that, Sengoku contacted Lieutenant General Crane and arranged to update the reward for Straw Hat Luffy. Soon, the new bounty list will be printed and sent all over the world. The Mary sailed the Great Pass to Whiskey Peak. Just then, a bounty list fell. On the deck, Nami and the others looked down and saw that it was Luffy. Usopp picked it up and looked at it, shouting, Luffy's bounty list, eh? It's updated, how did it become 100 million Baileys? Usopp is surprised, why is this, how did it drop? Luffy was also stunned, My bounty has been updated, and it has been reduced? 100 million Bailey? Luffy was surprised. If it was true, he would not be in a good mood. Hearing this, Zoro, Nami, and Sanji also came over. Just at first glance, I thought it was really lower, 100 million Bailey, because the first number is 1, followed by a string of 0. Wei Wei and MR9 are shaking, and 100 million Bailey is also very powerful. Mr. 9, I've heard that Straw Hat Luffy offered a bounty of 450 million Bailey for the first time. It was still too exaggerated. The estimate was wrong, and it dropped to 100 million. Wei Wei, 100 million is also very powerful, so don't be disappointed. Among the newcomers, 100 million is the top. Zoro is puzzled. If Luffy offers a lower bounty and thinks that the estimate is too high, he will also update and lower his own bounty, right? But I didn't see my own. After all, Luffy is the captain, and the crew himself cannot be higher than the captain. After Zoro realized it, Nami realized it too. As a financial fan, she is very sensitive to numbers and quickly realized that something was wrong. Taking a closer look, Nami's eyes widened, her pupils contracted, and she subconsciously exclaimed. My god. No, not 100 million Baileys. No? Usopp and the others were startled. Why not? Nami exclaimed, count carefully. Not 100 million Baileys, but 1 billion Baileys. What? In an instant, the Straw Hats were startled. Episode 33, hearing 1 billion, Luffy was happy. Ha ha ha, a billion, that's great. If it's a billion, then Luffy feels normal. Zoro, Sanji, Usopp are all shocked. A billion Bailey? They looked carefully, counted them one by one, and found that it was really a billion. It's amazing, Luffy directly offered a reward of 1 billion. Usopp couldn't believe it. Zoro exclaimed, amazing. Sanji looked forward to, my bounty hasn't come out yet, so let's meet a strong enemy as soon as possible, show my own strength, let the Navy release my bounty, and let the world see my handsome photos. No, it's to let the world, all the beauties see my handsome photos. Sanji began to fantasize about being handsome, and then offering a reward of hundreds of millions. It was so cool, it would definitely fascinate many beauties. Moreover, those beautiful pirates will definitely worship themselves very much, that would be too beautiful. Usopp felt that he also had to have a bounty list, and it couldn't be too low to hold him back. At this point, Wei Wei and Mr. 9 still don't believe it. 1 billion? What are you kidding? They looked closer, counted one by one, and were startled. They stayed where they were, dumbfounded, murmuring to themselves. Really, really a billion Baileys. Even for Crocodile, the bounty is only 81 million Baileys. I used to think that the Straw Hats' bounty was estimated to be too high, and it was normal to drop to 100 million. Wei Wei looked at Luffy deeply, so young, why is it a billion? I can't see it. Ace, who was sailing alone, saw the bounty list. It's Luffy's, so of course I'm very interested. Seeing the bounty, Ace was also startled, and subconsciously thought it was a correction? I thought it was too high before, so I lowered it? But after a closer look, Ace is also shocked, a billion Bailey. After being surprised, Ace was relieved, proud, and laughed, ha ha ha, as expected of my younger brother, Luffy, he's amazing. But then, Ace was worried. After all, it's too hard-edged. The newcomers who have not gone to sea for a long time have a bounty of 1 billion. In the previous bounty, it was impossible for Luffy to be known to everyone and spread all over the world, but this time, even if it is not known to everyone, even if it is not true in every corner of the world, it will definitely be famous. Shake the world. If so, it's not good. If the Straw Hat Pirates grow in size, Luffy still has partners, but now he knows that there are not many. Therefore, Ace is worried. Such monsters, the Navy will pay more attention and send more powerful combat power, at that time. Ace's face was low and firm, no matter who it is, don't try to hurt my brother, Luffy, no matter what happens to you in the future, I will help you. Ace swore in his heart that he would not let his brother have any trouble. Knowing that Luffy will be in danger, but he still has his brother. Red-haired pirates on board. Boss. Look at it. What's the matter? In such a hurry. Shanks was a little surprised. It's about Luffy. This makes Shanks interested. Picking it up, Shanks was shocked, 1 billion Baileys. Yeah, I thought I was dazzled when I saw it. Jesus Cloth was a little unbelievable. It just showed that Smog was easily defeated in Rog Town, and there was no big deal, so the bounty was raised to 1 billion Baileys. This is the reason for their astonishment. If it is said that they have defeated the existence of 8.9 billion Baileys and rise to 1 billion Baileys, they can still understand, but it is directly 1 billion. Shanks exclaimed, Luffy, amazing, it seems that defeating that smoker, Luffy didn't have the full power, the Navy knew, so the bounty was raised. This shocked the cadres of the Redheads. Back when Luffy was 6 years old, he was still a little kid. In terms of strength, there is basically no, but Luffy has the courage. Knowing that Luffy is unusual, but I didn't expect such a monster, even Shanks didn't expect it. Shanks looked forward to, Luffy, maybe it won't be long before we meet. But, before that. Halfway through, Shanks' face became solemn. Beckman, who is known as the world's most intelligent, breathes smoke, and he has long thought of it. Jesus arranged for these cadres, and when he saw Shanks' expression, he also guessed it. That is, the more outrageous it is, the more dangerous the road will be in the future. Whether it will go all the way, or flash like a shooting star, it is uncertain. Shanks said to himself, Luffy, the road ahead will be more difficult. I hope to see you in the future, but don't fall down too early. New World Ocean, Mobidi. It was the Whitebeard pirates. Dad, look quickly. What's the matter? Ace's business, or Titch? Speaking of Titch, Whitebeard's face was a little ugly, and his eyes were low. In addition, about Ace, he is concerned about other things, almost not interested. Father, neither. Whitebeard was lying on the chair, drinking the potion, and lost interest. Even if he is old and has a hanging bottle on his body, he is still powerful and the strongest man in the world. Marco said, Dad, it's about his younger brother, Luffy, who Ace often mentions. Whitebeard's closed eyes opened slightly, showing a little interest. After all, Ace often praised himself and showed off his younger brother. What's the matter? Whitebeard asked. Dad, look. Marco was shocked, which made Whitebeard think that maybe it was something interesting. Whitebeard was shocked when he saw the reward. Straw Hat Luffy, 17 years old, captain of the Straw Hat Pirates, with a bounty of 1 billion Baileys. It's really the back waves of the Yangtze River pushing the front waves. Whitebeard sighed in admiration. It is a great praise to let the strongest man in the world say this sentence. Whitebeard recalled Ace's frequent compliments and bragging, and smiled, Kula la la la. It seems that Ace didn't exaggerate, his brother is really unusual. Marco exclaimed, yeah, it's incredible that a newcomer who has just gone to sea can reach 1 billion Baileys in an instant. He is indeed Ace's younger brother. In the past, Ace often said that Whitebeard kept the name Luffy in his heart, but now, he remembers Luffy even more firmly. The naval headquarters is not far from the sea. If anyone sees the scene, it will feel like an illusion, because there is a person riding a bicycle at sea. As you ride, the water in front of the front wheel freezes a trail, which is why it's possible to ride a bike at sea. The man riding a bicycle, about 47 years old, wearing a white suit and black curly hair, is a General Akiji. The goal of this trip is to take down the Straw Hats. Episode 34. The increase of Luffy's bounty has caused a great shock in the world, and Luffy's reputation has also greatly improved. The Mary was sailing on the Great Route, and suddenly Siachi blizzard at sea, and the temperature plummeted. Nami was wrapped in a down jacket and looked outside through the window in the houseboat. It was still snowing, and her body was still shivering and complaining. What's the matter with the weather? It was still very warm just now. Luffy, Zoro, Sanji, and Usopp didn't feel cold, and were still in their previous clothes. After all, the four are all strong, and after 2 years of cultivation in the teaching space, the environment is even worse. The four of Luffy squatted with snowmen on the deck, enjoying themselves. Sanji was in charge of shoveling snow and asked, Miss Nami, when will you shovel snow with love? Nami said, shoveling until the end of the snow. Okay, Miss Nami. Sanji continued to shovel snow with great energy. Mr. Nine shivered coldly and asked, does your ship have no heating facilities? Wei Wei was wrapped in the sheets, still shivering coldly, it's so cold. Nami roared, don't be long-winded, you are just asking for our help, you are not a guest, hurry out and shovel the snow. Rumbling. Suddenly, thunder roared, the sky was overcast, and the sky became dark. Woo-hoo-hoo. Then there was a strong wind like howling and howling, giving a prelude to a storm. Nami sighed, the weather on the Great Route is really fickle. Wei Wei reminded, you haven't been at the helm since just now, does it matter? Nami still thought what was going on and shook her head, it doesn't matter, I have adjusted the direction. However, Nami glanced at the recording pointer, her face changed in surprise, the direction of the ship's forward direction was the opposite of that of the pointer. Nami was shocked and realized that she was careless and underestimated the Great Route. Nami ran out immediately and hurriedly said, turn the boat 180 degrees, hurry up. Sanji asked, Miss Nami, is something behind? Nami shook her head and explained, no, the boat turned around automatically and was heading in the direction we came from, so I quickly turned around. I just didn't pay attention to recording the pointer for a while, and the change happened. It was clear that the sea was calm, but it fell. Head. Wei Wei confirmed the question, are you really a navigator? In the Great Route, whether it is wind, sky, waves, or clouds, you can't trust it. The only thing you can trust is the direction pointed by the record pointer. Is this not true? we'll change. Nami kicked Weiwei and Mr. Nine out with an angry kick and shouted, "Stop talking, go shoveling the snow." Usopp sympathized, "I don't know Nami, it's strange that I don't get beat up." Nami looked at the pointer carefully, and after observing, began to make adjustments. Pull the jib to bring the right string into the wind and turn the boat 180 degrees to the left. Usopp, go pull the jib. Sanji, go take the helm. After the arrangement, suddenly, the weather changed again. Nami had a headache, and continued to observe and arrange. The footsteps on the boat were constant and it was very busy. Usopp looked at Sauron, very helpless. Sauron lay leaning against the corner and fell asleep, his body was covered with snow. Ah, no, there's a huge iceberg ahead. It's getting foggy. What to do? The ship is about to hit. For a time, Usopp, Vivi, and Mr. Nine's expressions changed drastically. Mr. Nine burst into tears and was very scared. Woo-woo, I was looking for help, but now I'm going to die, buried in the cold sea. Weiwei was also afraid, I don't want to die. Nami had a headache, what the hell is going on in the sea area? Nami thought it was too difficult, but as a navigator, this was something she had to overcome. Leave it to me. Luffy prepared to start. Nami looked apologetic, sorry, Luffy, because of my dereliction of duty. Luffy didn't care, it's okay, you just entered the Great Route, you are not familiar with it. Luffy's stomach swelled suddenly, like a hot air balloon, he exhaled and his stomach shrank. Soon the mist was blown away, but at the same time, Nami's eyes widened. Weiwei and Mr. Nine were already frozen in fear, because the boat was so close to the iceberg, it was about to be loaded. Also, when a big wave is set off, the boat is out of control, and it is about to slap against the iceberg, then the boat will definitely be torn apart and everyone will fall into the sea. Such turbulent waves, no matter how good swimming skills are, it is useless to fall. Luffy is full of fighting spirit, this is the Great Route. It is difficult and interesting. This is an adventure at sea. The fog cleared, and when Luffy was about to start, Zoro was woken up and heard that he was about to hit an iceberg. Pass it to me. Sauron stood up, jumped up, and slashed out. Zheng. The slash swept out, and with a click, the small iceberg in front was split in half, and the left and right were separated. This relieved Nami and the others, and the iceberg separated, forming a glacier ravine into which the Mary entered. However, the sea surged, and the icebergs on both sides were also affected and squeezed over. This made Weiwei and Mr. Nine collapse again. Are they going to die even worse? Are they going to be squeezed into meat patties? Sanji, let's solve one by one. Luffy said. It is good. Sanji also felt that it was time for him to move. After the teaching space came out, he hadn't done anything yet. Luffy's fist suddenly became huge and blasted towards the iceberg on the left. With a roar, the iceberg shattered into slag. Sanji jumped up, his right foot suddenly burst into flames, and he let out a low voice. Devil's foot. Coarsely broken. Boom. Click. He kicked the iceberg on the right, and the iceberg suddenly collapsed. Seeing Usopp, Sauron's eyes lit up. Nami was shocked by it, it was amazing. Weiwei and Mr. Nine were dumbfounded, the Straw Hat Pirates were too strong. Episode 35, Nami breathed a sigh of relief, but luckily, there were Luffy and the others. The Mary sailed on, and soon music saw the island through the fog ahead. Nami confirmed, it's coming, the first voyage into the Great Route is coming to an end. After getting close, through the fog, you can see clearly. On the island, there were many cacti as huge as mountains, and the eyes of Luffy and the others were shining. Sanji sighed, this is Whiskey Peak, what a wonderful island. Usopp sighed, what a big cactus, I thought it was a mountain from a distance just now. At this moment, Mr. Nine and Weiwei were about to leave. We're leaving here, thank you for sending us back. After the words fell, Mr. Nine and Weiwei jumped into the sea and swam away. Nami was a little stunned, let's go like this. Usopp didn't understand, what are they doing? Luffy didn't care, looked at the island, expecting, whatever, he's about to land and enter the first island of the Great Route. Nami nodded, well, let's land, and you have to stay on this island for a while. Because if the recording pointer doesn't record the magnetic force of this island, it can't point to the next island. As for how long, I'm not sure. Different islands, the recording speed is different, some hours, some days. Luffy understood, then let's go to the island. Sauron and the others were still looking forward to entering the first island of the Great Route. The voyage of the Great Route, they have seen it, it is very difficult, so what will this first island be like? Sail in along the river, and soon find people on both sides, then cheers. Welcome, pirates. Welcome to the town of hospitality, Whiskey Peak. Welcome, I will treat you well. Listening to the cheers, except for Luffy, everyone else was surprised. originally thought it would be a very difficult, very dangerous island, but it was such a scene, so hospitable, so many people welcomed them here. So enthusiastic. Nami was surprised. It's so popular, aren't most people afraid of pirates? Usopp wondered. Sanji said, so many beautiful women are welcoming me. It's great to be here. Sanji felt that this was the right place, and even fantasized about being surrounded by beautiful women and entertaining him warmly after he went to the island. Thinking of this, Sanji couldn't wait to go up. Nami and the others thought this town was good, and it turned out to be a town that liked pirates. They felt that after going up, they would be able to spend a few days in this town and would be warmly welcomed. This was something they didn't expect. They thought it would be difficult to be the first to land on the island. However, Luffy knows that these people are not welcoming pirates, they do this just to allow pirates who have entered the Great Route to come here. In fact, this island is full of bounty hunters. It is a weasel greeting the chicken for the new year, and it is uneasy and kind. The hearts of those who welcome are filled with joy. It's the Straw Hat Pirates. Although there are only 2 people on the boat now with a bounty, it's the biggest fat sheep we've encountered. Straw Hat Luffy, a bounty of 1 billion. Roronoa Zoro, a bounty of 350 million. A lot of money. Why is 1 billion so high, and what did he do? Don't be afraid, this is the town of bounty hunters. It's just a pirate group, or a pirate group with only 5 people. It will still be our meal. Such a pirate group should be welcomed more warmly and lured them into the bait. It's their inner thoughts. The Mary was docked, and many people crowded around, densely packed. The man in the lead was dressed politely, in a black suit, with long curly hair, about 50 years old, and introduced himself. My name is Ikelam, and I am the mayor of Whiskey Peak. Luffy nodded, well, I'm Luffy, please advise. Well, nice to meet you, this is a town famous for winemaking and music, and entertaining guests is what we are most proud of. We have a lot of proud wines, and we use your adventure stories so far as appetizers. Come and enjoy the banquet with me. Hearing this, Usopp, Sanji, and Nami's eyes lit up, this town is really nice. Usopp thought about having a big meal, Sanji thought about the banquet, there must be many beautiful women, and there will be beautiful waiters. Sauron's eyes lit up, because there was a lot of fine wine. Nami asked, how long will it take to record the magnetic force on this island? Ikelam replied, it will take 5 days. Well, let's go to the banquet and relieve the fatigue of sailing. Nami and others were really tired. The newcomers who entered the Great Route were very tired at first, and they were busy because of the sudden weather. Entering the banquet hall, it is very lively, delicious wine and good food are ready. Usopp was triumphant and began to brag, surrounded by many people, both men and women. Every time I encounter a desperate situation, it is because of me, Usopp, that turns it around. When I encounter difficulties and dangers, I will tremble, but because I am a brave warrior, I tremble with excitement. The people around her were full of admiration, and the woman's eyes shone with gold stars. Mr. Usopp, that's amazing. Cheers. I adore you so much. Sanji, Nami can hear it, she's used to it. Luffy thinks that something magical, the bowl that Usopp blows, will come true. Looking at the people around me, I feel that everyone here is Oscar actor, so good at acting. The town of bounty hunters is quite dangerous, but unfortunately, when they meet their current level of combat power, it is these people who are unlucky. Episode 36, the banquet continued, Sanji was extremely happy, and for the first time experienced being surrounded by beautiful women. He used to be a licking dog, but now a group of women worships him and praises him. Sanji thinks this is paradise, and it would be nice if he could stay for a while longer. At the end of the banquet, almost everyone was drunk and fell asleep on the table. Ikelam came out of the banquet hall, Mr. 9 and Wei Wei sat on the roof to say hello. Mr. 9 said, Ikelam, long time no see, to be precise, Mr. 8. It's you. Wei Wei and Mr. 9 jumped down and asked. What about them? They're going to hell. At this time a man with dark complexion, pink hair, strong body, like a boy, but a girl's voice walked out, like King Kong Barbie. Is it necessary to play such a scene? It's just a pirate group of 5 people. Although one is a newcomer who has recently become famous in the world, with a bounty of 1 billion Baileys, is there really a billion? The other one, Rolo Noa Zoro, I've heard it before, it's not 350 million. As for the others, they don't look that good. Even if they are powerful, we can take them down with so many people. Wei Wei pouted, idiot, they are very strong. Mr. 8 reminded, Miss Monday, you really can't be careless. It is necessary to do so, and it will save effort. Mr. 8 breathed a sigh of relief and arranged, you can report to the boss, and take all the treasures on their ships. As for them, if you can't kill them, the reward will be reduced by 30%. The world government wants to publicly execute them. go, take action and capture them alive. Clap la la. Huh, it's so comfortable. At this moment, a voice suddenly shocked the four of them. Looking at the sound, there is a person standing on the roof, birding. They all shrank their pupils, it was Luffy. Luffy urinated on it, and for a moment, Vivi's eyes widened and her pupils contracted. I don't know if it was the shock why I didn't faint, or something else. They calmed themselves down, what if they didn't hear it? What if you are still drunk and not sober? They had such a fluke, but next, Luffy spoke, making their faces extremely heavy. I heard everything you said. And I. Immediately afterwards, Zoro appeared and stood beside Luffy. This made Mr. 8's face heavy. Sorry. Zoro said, don't disturb my friends, let them sleep well, they are very tired during the day. Soon, nearly 100 people gathered outside the banquet hall. Although it was seen through, the other party was only 2 people. You guys knew it beforehand? Mr. 8's face was ugly. Zoro nodded, yeah, I know this is the bounty hunter's lair, and welcome the pirates who come to the great route with pride, let them come up and loot them, right? I just think it's not easy to deal with, so we held a banquet, added medicine, and tried to make us faint before we started. More and more people gathered, and they were seen through. Soon, a total of 100 people gathered. Zoro is not very interested. If he changes to his previous self, he is still interested, but his current self is very strong. I even think that Luffy, a domineering tyrant, can be put into most of the people. Luffy didn't want to waste time dealing with too many miscellaneous fish, his eyes glared, and the overlord's domineering burst out. Bang bang bang. Suddenly, the sound of falling to the ground continued, and the bounty hunters rolled their eyes and fell to the ground and fainted. Mr. 8 and the others looked around in horror. Originally, they thought it was okay to be seen through. There were only 2 of them. There were more than 100 of them. They were all bounty hunters, not ordinary minions. But now, 90% of them fainted. Only 10 left. This made their hearts heavier and felt a sense of crisis. Zoro planned to end it quickly, and signaled, Luffy, just leave it to me. Luffy nodded, okay. The lineup in front of him really makes Luffy uninterested, and there is no need for 2 people to start together. Zoro held the word Hadao in his right hand and said calmly, come on, Baroque Studio. This made Mr. 8's complexion change. How do you know it's our studio? Of course I know. When I was a bounty hunter before, your company once thought of poaching me, but I rejected it. The employees in the company don't know each other's origins at all, and only use their code names. Where is your boss, name, it's all a fan. When Sauron finished speaking, their faces were heavy, and they knew so much. Mr. 8 said coldly, it seems that there is another tombstone on the cactus rock. From a distance or even up close, the huge cactus is covered with thorns. I would think it was a real thorn, but it was actually a tombstone, so I could imagine how many pirates were buried here. Zoro jumped down, intending to fight quickly, and even withdrew his sword, not intending to use a single sword. This makes Mr. 8 feel shameful, even if there is a bounty of 350 million, but since they know that they are from the Baroque Studio, they cannot be so despised. But I was also fortunate in my heart, and immediately went all out to attack. Mr. 8's curly hair hides guns, cannonballs, and fires unexpectedly. Zoro raised his arms, covering the dark-armed color domineering. No knife flow, black rope tornado. Whoosh. In an instant, the shells and bullets flew away, and they were directly rolled up, screaming. After the storm, all of them were very embarrassed and severely injured. Wei Wei was far away and was not involved, because she herself had no malicious intentions. In this way, they lost. The gap is too big. They fully realized that the 300 million and 500 million is true, and the gap is too large. Maybe their bosses are facing each other, and they don't dare to say that they can win. They were desperate and thought it was over. You guys are really weak. You were defeated by a swordsman who didn't use a sword. 2 figures walked out of the alley, a man and a woman, the girl was petite and held an umbrella, and the man had dark complexion and black hair. This brightened Mr. 8's eyes, and saw hope. Mr. 5. Miss Valentine's Day. Episode 37, Mr. 8 and they are happy, because the appearance of these 2 people makes them see hope. Because they are all devil fruit capable people, in the Baroque Studio, their strength is very strong. Mr. 5 sarcastically, are you kidding me, it's so unbearable. Miss Valentine's Day is not unexpected, and laughed, ha ha ha, I can understand, after all, this is the difference in our level. This made Mr. 8 angry when they listened, but they could only bear it. Miss Valentine sneered, we are here to perform a mission, but not to help you. This made Mr. 9 startled and couldn't understand. It's not for us to carry out the task? It's a contradiction. How can there be a contradiction, because we are here to solve her? Both Mr. 5 and Miss Valentine looked at Wei Wei with killing intent flashing in their eyes. This shocked Mr. 8's heart and felt uneasy. Wei Wei's face became heavy, and her temperament changed, like a princess. Mr. 5 said coldly, "What we need to solve is the undercover agent who sneaked into our company, or the whereabouts of the kingdom of Alabasta is still unknown." Mr. 8 decided to fight, and sure enough, it was still revealing. He stood up abruptly, and the shells kept blasting out of his curly hair. Boom boom boom. Bombing ahead, the fire will bomb Mr. 6 and Miss Valentine's Day. Zoro was startled, thinking that it might not be too boring, but the two sides started fighting. Go to hell, you guys, I won't let you touch a single hair on the princess. From now on, I'm no longer Mr. 8, but Icolum. I bet on my name as the captain of the Alabasta Kingdom, and I want to protect the princess. After the bombing, Mr. 5 and Miss Valentine were unscathed. Mr. 5 said indifferently, "As expected, there is no mistake, the princess of Alabasta Wang Gang, Nafurutali Weiwei, I am here to kill you under the order of the boss." Saying that, take out a photo. This made Sauron startled, and he didn't look like a person. Luffy said, "The camouflage is good, no wonder it can be hidden until now." Having said that, Zoro also thinks it's true. Since he wants to go undercover, he naturally has to pretend to be a little more like it. It's no wonder that the Baroque studio has only discovered it now. Lord Weiwei, hurry up and escape. Icolum rushed up, the firepower in the curls kept breaking out, the bullets kept firing, and the shells were bombarding. Facing these two people, Icolum rushed forward, without fear of death. Weiwei is worried, Icolum. Mr. 5 was disdainful of it, and with a flick of his finger, it exploded with a bang, blasting Icolum into the air, with serious injuries and black smoke all over his body. This surprised Zoro. What happened? It exploded. Icolum has cannonballs in his hair, how did this guy do it? I can't explain it, it can only be said that it is a devil fruit person. Luffy naturally knows that this guy is an explosive fruit person. The smoke lingered, Miss Valentine floated up with her umbrella, and then quickly fell, took off the head rope of Vivi's high ponytail, and her long blue hair was thrown down. Suddenly, Zoro realized that he was indeed the same person as the photo. Lord Weiwei, I can't fight anymore, you go quickly. For the sake of the country, you must live, without you, the kingdom of Alabasta will perish, hurry up. Icolum's voice was weak. Go? When we don't exist? Mr. 5 took out his nostrils, which made Weiwei's face change, knowing that the other party was about to do something. At this moment, Mr. 9 stepped forward with an iron rod. Although I don't know the situation, since we have been together for so long, I will help you. Let's go, Miss Wednesday. Mr. 9. Mr. 9 waved the iron rod and rushed up, Mr. 5 flicked again, small black particles flew out and exploded with a bang, Mr. 9 flew out backwards, and fell to the ground with black smoke all over his body. Zoro sighed softly, this little piece of booger has such a powerful bombing power. Icolum crawled to Sauron, hugged Sauron's feet, and begged. Master Swordsman, I have an unkind request. I am not their opponent. Can you protect the princess for me? Zoro was speechless, why do you want to help you protect me? You were still an enemy just now. Icolum asked, if you can send the princess back to the kingdom of Alabasta, you will definitely get rich rewards, please. Zoro was helpless, stop joking, obviously you wanted to kill us just now. But, at this moment, Nami came. She has been wandering alone all year round, in order to make money, she is very careful, and she has not fainted. Nami was interested and asked, is it true that you set a generous reward? Yes. Ikaram saw hope. After all, she was a companion. If she agreed, Zoro and Luffy, who were powerful companions, would definitely help. Icolum nodded heavily, yes. I swear with my life. There will be rich rewards. Nami's eyes lit up, and she offered a condition, I agree to your request, but the reward is 1 billion Bailey, is that okay? Icolum's expression was dull, and he suspected that he had heard it wrong. 10 billion Bailey. Icolum is very embarrassed, this. I'm just a soldier guard, I can't make such a decision, it's too much. Nami asked, do you think your princess is not worth the price? Princess is priceless, but I'm not sure if I can take out so much, maybe. Icolum's words made Nami decide. Okay, help you. Nami looked at Zoro and said, okay, Zoro, let's go. Zoro was speechless and rolled his eyes, who will go, idiot, why did you let me go for the errand you promised yourself? Nami scolded, idiot, although the money is mine, it's also everyone's. Besides, you still owe me money, and Rog Town bought a knife before. Zoro was speechless. Luffy said, then, Zoro, let's go and see. Zoro glanced at Luffy and found a serious expression on his face. It seems that he is also curious and wants to know what the specific situation is. Okay, let's go. Episode 38. At this moment, Weiwei was riding a duck to escape. Ducks are called run fast, and as their name suggests, they really run fast. Wei Wei said in a hurry, run fast, run at full speed, there is a boat parked behind Cactus Rock, we will take that boat to leave this island and return to Alabasta. Boom. However, there was a bombardment ahead and the road was damaged. The run quickly stopped, and Wei Wei's face was heavy. In the thick smoke, a figure walked out, it was Mr. Five. Another way, Miss Valentine's Day emerges. Wei Wei's face was heavy, and there was no way to escape. Okay, I can take you back. Mr. Five was ready to start, but at this time, Luffy and Zoro swept in. Luffy said, Zoran, let me come. It is good. Zoro stood aside and dealt with these two, there was no need for the two of them to do it together. Wei Wei was startled, is this to protect her? Why? You. Wei Wei looked at Luffy in confusion. We're here to save you. Luffy's words fell, Mr. Five and Miss Valentine's Day looked ugly, and the Straw Hat Luffy with a bounty of 1 billion Bailey. However, the task must be completed. Mr. Five rushed up directly and quickly and kicked out fiercely. Foot explosion, boom. The bombing was stronger, which made Wei Wei's face change, much stronger than the previous bombing. After all, the bombing just now was just booger. Luffy didn't dodge, which made Mr. Five think he couldn't dodge. It's useless to dodge, because the explosion range is very large, and you can't dodge it. It seems that you know it. However, the bounty of 1 billion is not worth it at all. 100 million feels too much. Mr. Five was sarcastic, but his face changed. Because he felt his bare feet clenched suddenly, and was caught by Luffy's hand. No matter how hard you try, you can't pull it out. The smoke dissipated, and Mr. Five's eyes widened, unable to believe it, because Straw Hat Luffy was unscathed. How come? In shock, his body was suddenly uncontrollable, Luffy threw it casually, and Mr. Five flew out backwards. Boom boom boom. Several houses were smashed through, and the houses kept collapsing. Mr. Five, Miss Valentine's Day shock, so strong, it seems not to be underestimated because of age, 1 billion may really have some hard power. Miss Valentine floated up quickly, above Luffy. Be crushed by me. Located in the sky, Miss Valentine felt that Luffy couldn't escape at all, because it was directly 5,000 kilograms. Whoosh. Falling like a meteorite, Miss Valentine's Day is confident, even if his strength is stronger than himself, as long as he is smashed, it will be over. Luffy knows that Miss Valentine's Day is a light fruit, it can make the body lighter and can control its own weight. Now Miss Valentine's Day is 5,000 kilograms, 10,000 gene. This gravity is powerful, and Luffy can naturally dodge it. He doesn't intend to dodge, but is interested and wants to challenge it. As Miss Valentine's Day plummeted, Luffy raised his hands, palms up. This made Miss Valentine's Day startled. Instead of dodging, she raised her hands. Is she trying to hold herself back? Miss Valentine smiled, now that she weighs 5,000 kilograms, how could she be able to carry it? Boom. Boom. Miss Valentine fell, and there was a sudden roar. The ground around Luffy's feet was sunken, and the gravel flew, and a roar broke out. Wei Wei was worried, after all, it was to save her. If anything happened because of saving herself, she would blame herself very much. Wei Wei looked at Zoro, who was leaning against the wall with her arms folded over her chest, and asked, aren't you going to help him? Their fruit abilities are too powerful. Explosive fruit, light and fluttering fruit, is a fairly acceptable fruit, but the two developed by these two are not very good, especially the explosive fruit. What's more, Luffy and Zoro are super powerful, and it's too easy to deal with this level. Zoro said indifferently, don't worry, it's alright. This made Wei Wei a little confused, so indifferent. Zoro knew that Luffy wanted to play, to be precise, to hone it. Sauron wanted to go up and play. He wanted to try the ability to Miss Valentine's Day. The dumbbells he held in the past were not too difficult. If it was 10,000 gene, Sauron really wanted to try it and see if he could hold it. Lifting her to exercise should be able to improve strength and muscles very well. If Miss Valentine knew, Zoro at this time imagined using her as a dumbbell, and he would die of anger, which would be a shame. The dust dissipated, and Wei Wei's eyes widened in disbelief. Because, a deep pit appeared, but the ground under Luffy's feet was intact. Also, Luffy stood up straight with his arms raised, so he grabbed Miss Valentine's feet with both hands and held them high. Wei Wei was shocked, that's 5,000 kilograms, 10,000 kilograms, such a powerful force, actually lifted it up. Luffy gritted his teeth and insisted on holding up the 10,000-pound Miss Valentine's Day. It was really difficult, but it was good. What? Miss Valentine was startled, but instead of being squashed, she held herself up. Why is there such a strong force? Luffy sighed, not bad gravity, very stressful, but not bad. This makes Miss Valentine's Day puzzled, right? Why do you say that? But in the next instant, Luffy's actions made Miss Valentine understand. Zoro smiled, while Wei Wei was stunned. I saw Luffy start to squat slowly, and then got up, actually doing a squat. The body is straight, but the legs are bent, and the hands are still held straight and high, just like this, constantly squatting in place. This made Miss Valentine understand why Luffy felt good. It turned out to be using himself to exercise. Miss Valentine's Day exploded. What do you think of me? It's a shame. Luffy said harmlessly, although I am strong, but if I want to become stronger, let me exercise for a while. Miss Valentine looked at Luffy grinning at herself, pleading, and wanted to vomit blood. Okay. You have the ability, you continue. This time I will crush you. Miss Valentine's body fluttered suddenly, which made Luffy feel boring. It was as light as cotton, and there was no pressure, so he couldn't continue to squat. However, Luffy was more interested, looking forward to it, and felt that he had to make a change. Continue if you have the ability. But I remind you that you better look up to me. If you insult me again, you will really be finished. If you have the ability, don't hide. Luffy nodded. Well, I can't hide. This made Miss Valentine sneer, and cursed in her heart, idiot. But, fortunately, this is the best. The bounty of 1 billion is much stronger than himself and Mr. 5, but fortunately, his ability is special. If he doesn't hide, then he will be finished. Miss Valentine floated very high this time, because she knew that Luffy wouldn't hide. It didn't stop until it floated to an altitude of 1,000 meters, and then burst out the fruit ability with all its strength, its own limit. Luffy looked up, expecting, come down quickly. Miss Valentine aimed at Luffy below and drank lowly. The limit, 10,000 kilograms, is the top. Episode 39, whoosh. In an instant, Miss Valentine fell like a meteorite. Wei Wei was very worried. Get out of the way. 10,000 kilograms, 20,000 kilograms. It's still falling from a kilometer altitude. Wei Wei felt that even if Luffy was powerful, he couldn't handle it. 20,000 genes is enough, or falling from a height of 1,000 meters, the acceleration of gravity. This is not just the power of 20,000 genes, it is too terrifying. Even Zoro was a little worried. If it was him, he would have to dodge or slash out to solve the opponent, instead of standing still and thinking about continuing to hold it. In this case, even if there is a huge difference in strength, they will be killed by the 20,000 kilograms at an altitude of 1,000 meters on this Valentine's Day. Unless you fight back, or you can't carry it, you will be crushed. Zoro worried and reminded, Luffy, dodge quickly, or fight back. If he counterattacks, with Luffy's strength and explosive power, he can also offset most of the power of the 10,000 kilograms fall, and it will be fine. However, Luffy shook his head. Don't worry, I'll try it. Luffy stood on the spot, not dodging, but raised his hands. This surprised Wei Wei and Zoro. Still want to lift it? It can be seen that Luffy is full of interest and fighting spirit. He wants to challenge himself and hone himself, but this is too risky. Mr. 5 climbed out of the ruins. Just now he saw the horror of Luffy. He even lifted 10,000 pounds of Miss Valentine's Day. However, Mr. 5 sneered and felt fortunate in his heart. Fortunately, we didn't dodge. Their strength is too strong. The strength is against each other. We are not rivals at all. It is too small. But fortunately, Miss Valentine's ability, plus his support. 20,000 caddies, from 1,000 meters high falling, enough to destroy a small town. The destructive power of falling objects is very great. A vase falling from a high building can kill a person. What's more, at 20,000 caddies, at an altitude of 1,000 meters, the power is terrifying. Mr. 5 felt that the straw hat must be crushed to death. In this case, such a powerful combat power will be solved by them. Next, just need to join forces to deal with Zoro, and there is still a chance. Miss Valentine fell at a high speed, didn't know anything, couldn't see it, but knew that the straw hat couldn't hide. That was enough. Seeing Miss Valentine's rapid fall, getting closer and closer to Luffy, Vivi and Zoro stared closely, very worried. At this moment, Luffy put his hands left and right in front of his mouth, blowing hard. Arms, hands suddenly huge. This made Zoro breathe a sigh of relief, while Vivi was stunned, and she was also a devil fruit person. In an instant, Luffy raised his arms like giants. Mr. 5 is not worried. If you counterattack and cancel out some of the power, it may really be fine, but he still intends to hold it. Even if he swells his body, it will be useless. Mr. 5 has understood that Luffy is a rubber fruit. Blowing air makes the rubber swell. Maybe the strength is stronger, but it is useless and can't hold it. The next moment, Miss Valentine's Day falls. Boom. With an even more deafening roar, all the surrounding houses were blown away, and the airwaves caused Mr. 5 to be blown away. Zoro swept in front of Wei Wei, blocking the impacting airwaves, and kept retreating at the same time. Clack clack. The ground continued to crack, the gravel flew, and even the entire island trembled, just like a real meteorite fell. The dust dissipated, and Vivi and Zoro looked at it for the first time. At first glance, I was shocked, a tanking with a diameter of 100 meters. Seeing this scene, Mr. Five sneered. It's definitely over. With the tanking as the center, dense and wide cracks spread in all directions, and the longest one is a kilometer long. He felt that with such destructive power, the Straw Hat would definitely be finished. To fight back with all your strength, you can still knock Miss Valentine's Day away. You are unscathed, but if you choose to fight hard, you will definitely be finished. However, Mr. Five's face changed drastically. I saw Luffy's giant hand held high, holding Miss Valentine. 1, 2, 3. Mr. Five was dumbfounded, Wei Wei was dumbfounded, even Zoro, who knew Luffy's strength, was shocked. Because Luffy continued to sit up and squat, gritted his teeth, his muscles were tense, and his blue veins burst out. Obviously it is more laborious than before, but Luffy is willing to do this, it is very challenging. It's heavy, but it's better to exercise this way. 10. 11. 12. Luffy gritted his teeth and continued to sit up and squat with difficulty. Missed date on Valentine's Day, how could it be? Still resisting. Don't reduce gravity, that's all, too short a time to be effective. Luffy finished his words and continued to count. It's a shame to miss Valentine's Day, but it's also not possible to reduce gravity, but want to increase it. But there is no way, the limit of her development is 10,000 kilograms. Damn. Gravity strengthens me. Miss Valentine really wanted to increase gravity and push Luffy down so they still had a chance. Perhaps it was because of shame, anger, urgency, and Miss Valentine's constant urge to the fruit, which made her break through the limit of her own ability, and the gravity increased. This made Luffy's body sink, and after squatting down, it was difficult for him to straighten up again for a short time. Miss Valentine was excited, ha ha ha, my ability has improved. It can be felt that after 5,000 caddies are lifted, it cannot be improved anymore. But it is also very strong, 25,000 caddies. Mr. Five, take the opportunity to attack. Miss Valentine shouted, and Mr. Five was about to rush over, with a whole body explosion, which was more powerful. Luffy said with difficulty, Sauron, stop him, don't let anyone disturb me. It is good. Sauron swept in, and Mr. Five exploded all over, but was slashed by Sauron, and the bombardment was blown away. Luffy praised, very good, this is better, give it to me. Under Miss Valentine's horrified gaze, Lu's body slowly straightened up again, and continued to sit and squat. This makes Miss Valentine's face ugly, but it does not have the ability to remove the fruit. When it is lifted, they play with eggs, but if it is not lifted, it will continue to be like this, exhausting the Straw Hat. Luffy is naturally happy and not relieved. The longer the time, the better, to hone himself and become stronger. Don't take it lightly, I think it can last all night. Luffy grinned. Episode 40, Luffy kept training like this, and Zoro wanted to do it when he saw it. But I know that Luffy relies on ability, and he can't bear the gravity of 25,000 kilograms. And so it went on all night. In one night, Luffy was also exhausted, but it was still very effective. Exercise like this. Even Luffy wanted to bring Miss Valentine as a toolman, and use it as a gravity object to train his body every day. Okay, that's the end of it. Luffy stopped training and lay on the ground to rest. Sauron, I'll leave it to you, I'll sleep for 10 minutes. It is good. Zoro went straight to solve the Miss Valentine and Mr. Five. While Luffy was resting, Nami went to wake Usopp and Sanji. Sanji is still dreaming beautiful dreams, you can tell by looking at his expression that he is dreaming of beautiful women. Keep drinking. Sanji muttered. Stop drinking, wake me up, there's still work to do. Nami looked at Sanji, who was laughing sly and drooling, and stomped her face hard. Sanji was awakened by pain, angry, and disturbed his sweet dreams, but when he saw it was Nami, he immediately obeyed. Come on, there is something important. Along the way, Nami told what happened, Usopp and Sanji had lingering fears, and they were drunk. After arriving, Luffy also woke up. After only 10 minutes of sleep, Luffy was alive and well, which made Wei Wei have to marvel at Luffy's body structure, which was outrageous. Before on the boat, she had seen Luffy eat a lot of things, and his stomach was like a balloon, but it was digested quickly, like a monster. Wei Wei was puzzled, why do you want to save me? You were still an enemy before. Nami began to explain, it's like this, because you're guard. Nami finished the matter and said, that's it, you have to pay me 1 billion. Wei Wei fully understood that it was because of this that she helped. Looking at the embarrassed Wei Wei, Nami said, I think this business is not a loss, and the Baroque studio is also very strong, right? Wei Wei shook her head, I can't agree, although you saved me. But, it's not that I don't want to give it, I really want to give it, as long as it can save our kingdom. But, don't you know the kingdom of Alabasta? If you can save it, I will promise. I also know that you have the ability, but I can't lie to you to promise you, and I can't show it. Nami was surprised. It's a kingdom anyway, can't you get a billion? Nami thought it was a bit outrageous, wouldn't she be so poor? Wei Wei explained, that's one of the few countries that is called civilized and peaceful, but it used to be. As soon as these words came out, Nami and others were curious, what happened, and they fell from a big country? Wei Wei said sadly, now the kingdom is in civil strife. In the past few years, some people have begun to plan revolutions, people have rioted one after another, and the country has become more and more chaotic. One day, I heard about an organization called Baroque Studios. Speaking of this, Wei Wei's tone became resentful. I know that this organization is inciting the people, but if I want to investigate deeper intelligence, I have no clues and can't start. Therefore, I chose to go undercover, so that I can know who is behind the scenes and the purpose. Ikelam is worried about me, so go undercover with me. Hearing this, Zoro exclaimed, what a brave princess, then, have you found out who is behind the scenes and the purpose? Wei Wei nodded, they want to build an ideal country, but saying this is actually a big panic. Their real purpose is to seize the kingdom of Alabasta. I must return home quickly to tell everyone the truth and quell the civil riots, otherwise if this goes on, Alabasta will be doomed. Wei Wei became more and more sad, and at the same time hated her powerlessness and weakness. Nami understands that big countries have no money because they are in civil strife. Zoro was curious, then who is behind the scenes? Wei Wei's face was heavy, I didn't dare to say what I said originally. I didn't want to tell you. I was afraid that you would fall into a crisis. But looking at your strength, maybe the bounty is really not exaggerated, so let me tell you. Hearing this, Zoro and others have a good impression of Wei Wei. Luffy said, let's just say, as long as it's not a general or the 4 emperors, we can't be destroyed. Then I said, he is Crocodile. Wei Wei said the words, watching the reaction of Luffy and the others. You should have heard it. If you find it difficult, you can leave it to me. At the end of the day, Wei Wei's words were a little out of place. How can it be possible to deal with Crocodile, Baroque Studio by yourself? I really want them to help me, but I don't have enough money. I don't want them to help me deal with such a powerful enemy. Luffy nodded, I know. Wei Wei was uneasy in her heart, looking forward to it, but she didn't have any expectations. If you know, what kind of decision do you make? We can't come up with a billion, you can choose not to help. Luffy grinned, if you can't get a billion, just reduce the pay, do what you can, it will help you. This made Wei Wei startled and stared blankly at Luffy. It's okay to reduce the pay, the opponent's strength is weak, but it's Crocodile, do you really know? His identity and reputation. Wei Wei confirmed and asked, looking at the indifferent Luffy, she wondered if she really understood. Luffy wrote lightly, I know, isn't it just a king who goes to the Sea of Chiwu? Wei Wei?